I'll be honest. I need clapping with sports. Like I always need like the energy jolt where it's like
Yeah.
clapping or applause or a whistle. Like I just need something that's like, this is sports. So I'm super excited. Well, welcome everybody back to my series. First of all, Emily's here again. We did this last year, so I'm super excited to talk to her about Oregon. And this year I decided to do something different. So last year I did top 25 teams. I quickly realized that college football, nobody knows what is going on ever. So it made more sense. Instead of doing top 25, I decided to do teams that I think are going to impact college football. So whether they
Okay.
lose or whether they win, you are going to impact college football. So if Oregon is winning games, are going to impact college football. If they're losing games, it's going to give somebody else a spot to entertain their spot. So obviously Oregon is on this list because I respect them and I well, maybe I secretly wanted to talk to you, but I also respect them as well. So that is why they're on this list. So I will let you just introduce yourself, whatever it is you want to tell us. All of your information will also be in the description. So if anybody
Okay.
wants to find any of the work that you're doing, they can find it pretty quickly. But yeah, if you just want to introduce yourself and then we'll just get talking about Oregon.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for inviting me back. I'm super excited to be here to talk to you again because you are so fabulous and such a joy. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I think the ad's the same. It's Emily E. Taylor 23. Honestly, TikTok might be the same. I'm gonna have to double check that for you. I'm new to
Okay.
that entire sphere.
Me
But
too.
otherwise, yeah, it's a lot. Otherwise, I run and host the Saturday Huddle Podcast, which is a college football podcast that just launched in June, and it has been super fun. And we're talking about all the conferences, everything that's kind of happening in college football, all of the major storylines, and kind of what makes the sport the type of culture that it is, because it
Mhm.
goes way beyond the games just played on the field. It's all of our discussions and conversations like this one, and even more, whether it's super toxic or actually pretty healthy. That's kind of what contributes to what college football is. So it's a show basically unpacking that.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I've started to see that and I'm like, this is so interesting because we often talk about college football, the game that's on the field, but we don't
Yeah,
often talk about like all the things that surround it that make up that game on the field that makes us so crazy.
right.
So, so I love
It's
that.
true. And I'm
Yeah.
an academic, so I was trying not to make it too academic because no one likes that. But
Yeah.
from an academic standpoint, there's like a lot of intrigue there because of
Hmm.
all of the different dynamics and how people are communicating with each other and the assumptions made, and kind of like this own college football language that we have where we're able to reference certain games or certain plays where
Yeah.
most college football fans know exactly what a person's talking about. So it's actually really fascinating,
Yeah.
and I can only imagine what non-college football fans like how they view it and
Yeah.
how they
I
grasp, like how they understand it.
It's definitely different. I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me about Oregon this year. Like, what is the storyline that is surrounding the team, or what are you all feeling this year? It was kind of an interesting year for you last year. Like, you did everything you were supposed to do, and then you didn't, and then it was kind of weird. But then players came back. So
Yeah.
how is that feeling right now? What are you guys talking about, thinking about?
I mean, I think there's from a national standpoint, I definitely think there's kind of like this headline and storyline of like, is this the year they get it done?
Yeah.
And Oregon as a team has teased it multiple times. Like we had really like we made it to a couple of national championship games. We've made it pretty far, obviously, in the playoffs. We just, it's about, can Oregon get over a hump or can they win the games that matter? And if you take a look at the teams that Oregon has lost to since or under Dan Lanning, most of them, those teams have gone on to win national championships.
Yeah.
So that can be viewed as a positive and a negative. Like, okay, that's cool. We're losing to good quality teams. But at the same time, like, what if we just did a few things differently? Would
Yeah.
we be in that spot? And so that's obviously bittersweet to think about. But I would say that's kind of like the big storyline and kind of nationally what people are talking about, because we do have returning players. We have a returning quarterback. We have obviously a very like a strong head coach. We have a lot of things to feel super optimistic about. We have a lot of weapons. It's just a matter of like, is this the year that it finally comes together and we don't get annihilated in a playoff game,
Yeah.
or one that we can actually win and move on to a round that we have yet to make it. So
Okay.
I would say that's probably the major storyline.
That's fair. Heading into this, if you are seeing this lovely video, don't forget to make sure that you hit the like button. Don't forget to check in the description section so that you can find all of our socials and all the ways to keep in contact with us. And if you want to really engage, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Now let me let you get back to your video. Fair. heading into the season, what are you most excited about? What do you think the strength is of this team? Where do you think you guys are like, no, we're good there. We're so good.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say that really falls under the category of returning players, the first
Yeah.
being Dante Moore. So the first, having a returning quarterback, and the fact that he didn't go to the NFL draft was huge. It was, something that was kind of a question all of last season, especially in the latter half of the season, where
Mm.
it's like, is he going to come back or is he going to go to the draft? And that was a fair question considering how, like, it wasn't a super exciting quarterback draft year
No,
for the
not at all.
NFL. It
Yeah.
wasn't super strong. And so that was a reasonable question to be asked. However, the fact that Dante Moore returned not only speaks to like the quarterback skill that Oregon is expected to have, but again, it's the culture. So being able to rely heavily on like that cohesion and the fact that they have a strong culture backing them up. And we have other weapons on the team. Obviously, when you take a look at the defense, you take a look at the wide receivers, that those are the strengths. Like I'm expecting all of that to look as good as it did last year, but another year under their belt. So again, more fused together, better cohesion, stronger, more development, all the things that college football fans love to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. All the things we're patient for.
All the things. Yes, exactly.
We're like, he's a 5-star. What do you mean he doesn't have 15 sacks this year?
Right. Right. At the same time, like, it's also a lot of pressure, right? Because it's like, okay, what if you guys underperform? Like, what were we even talking about? What were we even like being optimistic for? But I'm optimistic. I feel very confident in this team.
Okay, cool. And then what is something that you do think about often and that you're kind of like, okay, I know this is kind of something, it's a concern. I don't like to think about it, but I know that I have to, and I see it. It's just there. What is that for you this year?
I think something that I think about is definitely the offensive line. So I want to ensure, like, I think about it and I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic. There's not necessarily like genuine true worry there, but it's something that I definitely think about where I'm like, this needs to be good. Like this needs to be good. And then I also think there's kind of always going to be question marks when you lose your coordinators. Now, Oregon was really lucky to just elevate coordinators already in their system. So it's not like they went out to hire. Fans will tell you that's a good thing. Some fans will tell you that's a bad thing. But I think that actually might be a really helpful thing. But there's going to bring some question marks because there's going to be a slight identity shift in comparison to what we've been used to seeing the past few years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there something outside? I was actually really interested to ask you this. Is there something outside of like that you hear that's outside of the fan base or that's in talks where you're like, you guys just don't understand us? Like you are talking about this, but you're missing this point. Like, what is it with Oregon? Because it happens with Texas all the time. Like I hear things about Texas and I'm like, no one literally is saying that ever. But what is something that you hear just like about Oregon or that you feel like you guys are misunderstood in different situations?
I mean, we definitely still get referred to a lot with the uniforms. And I understand. So the thing is, I understand it and I don't. I understand it's the flashy uniforms, but Oregon doesn't have a national championship to back it up. At the same time, we are a Nike school. We are the Nike state. And so it always kind of made sense to me that Oregon would be that school for the experimentation of uniforms and to kind of give it that edge. I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah. I see something wrong with it when people outside the fan base or even people outside of Oregon really focus and hone in on that as if it's like a really big deal and all that fans are talking about. Yeah. Which we talk about the actual football way more than we talk about the uniforms. The uniforms are cool. We talk about like what they might look like. We talk about which ones we might buy, but it definitely doesn't take up a ton of space because we're really focused on the actual football as college football fans. And I'm going to use this moment as like an opportunity to say, obviously, as an Oregon fan, it drives me insane when people put the Oregon O and like zero as like a zero for national championships. And I think this might drive me crazy because of my like education background, but like using a letter for a number has like always driven me crazy. Like at the bare minimum, please reflect some of the intellect that your personal school is known for, USC, Washington, like all of these highly intellectual schools, and please stop using a letter as a number. Now, okay, people are going to come at me and be like, you're just bitter because you don't have a national championship. It just doesn't hit the way I think it's supposed to hit because all I'm thinking about is how that's a letter and not
that's dumb. Can I just say something?
Just so Yes.
The UT logo, when people do it like upside down,
Yeah.
I'm like, you realize you're still using our logo, right? Like, even
Right.
though like
Right.
it's like upside down, that's
Yeah.
cute, but you still had to print it in burnt orange
Yeah.
to put it upside down.
Yeah.
So
For it to make sense. Like,
so
what are we
it's
doing
like,
here?
yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. I know that's why yeah, that's one of the things too. I'm like, we don't care. We really don't care.
Right. And
So
it's always like, it's always cracks me up when people respond to me like that with like the O and zero national championships, as if I don't know. Like, yeah,
right.
this has been my lived experience since I was a
Yeah.
little kid. I know.
Yeah.
So it's
You're
like, again,
like,
it's not like you're wounding me in any way. This is
yeah,
my daily life. So I
true.
don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
yes.
As an adult too, the jersey thing makes more sense. I feel like when I was younger and in Oregon went through the jersey thing, I thought it was super cool. But now
And I
as
think
a
because it was
grown
newer then,
woman,
right?
yeah. And as a
Like,
grown woman,
yeah,
you're right. Like, how else are they going to test out these colors, these jerseys, these looks, these fills?
right.
Test it out
And
on the
there's
football team.
and it's not like they may have been the first, like the first to do
Yeah.
it, but like from an innovation standpoint of wanting of a brand wanting to showcase their innovation,
Yeah.
that just like strategically makes sense. So it's
100%.
like, oh, all Oregon cares about are uniforms. I really don't think the coaching staff cares about uniforms. That's really not where their focus is. This is
Yeah.
just something that they're thrown in the loop of like, this is what your team's wearing. This is like the look this week, this month, whatever it might be. This is like the era we are in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people really focus on that a lot.
It's very strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. So that's the college football thing. We don't know how to move on. So there's that.
Right.
Is there
So
a
true.
bold prediction that you have this year for your team?
Yes. Well, originally I was gonna say my bold prediction was that Dante Moore would be in New York as a Heisman finalist. I don't necessarily think that's super bold.
That's
I know
not,
a lot of
yeah.
people are talking about that. But I would like my bold prediction to be that I think Oregon's going to have the best defense in the Big Ten.
Ooh.
It's bold,
I
but
love that.
it's July
Okay.
and I'm allowed to be this optimistic.
Yes.
Well,
You
I think
100%
fairly
are.
being objective as well, but I'm allowed to be like in this zone. So that's my bold
Yeah.
prediction.
Okay. I love that. Is it whenever you look at your team, do you normally care more about like offense, defense? Do you care about the whole thing? Like, is there one side of the football where you're kind of like me with Coach Sark? I'm always like, all right, we got to get this offense figured out. I don't care. Like, it's just something
Yeah.
like, but is there anything for you with Oregon that you're always thinking, okay, come on offense or come on defense? Does that happen for you?
I mean, I think naturally my brain immediately goes to quarterback just
Okay.
because for the last few years, it's not like Oregon had this like continuity with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's a big reason I love the fact that Dante Moore came back
Okay.
was, it was that continuity and it's like
Yeah.
continuing with the player that we know. But I think since Dan Lanning has been the coach, I've actually been more focused on defense, knowing he's a defense-minded coach. So
Okay.
I'm always paying close attention to that and really like how it's improving the players that he gets in the portal, how he's developing players and whatnot. Me personally, that's kind of just like since he's been the coach, kind of where my eyes have been drawn to.
Okay. Okay. I love that. Everybody usually has that. So I just like to figure out like what
Yeah.
is that for you? Okay. Well, I like Dan Lanning. I know a lot of people don't. I think he rubs people the wrong way. But I think he's just like a confident type of. He reminds me of Mike Vrabel and just the way that he carries himself, as far as just the confidence. His
Yeah.
shoulders are always back. He's always entering a room like with a little bit of power to him. So I don't mind him, but some people he just like he comes on the screen and they're like he has a punchable face. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, oh my gosh. So,
And it's interesting, right? Because like he's one of the youngest coaches in college football.
mhm.
And I think when you compare that to the behaviors and mannerisms of some of the older coaches in college football and
Mhm.
kind of what we were just accustomed to with like Nick Saban, what we see in
Right.
Kirby Smart. I mean, you take a look at Kurt Signetti, like
Mhm.
the Kurt Signetti can be a little petty, I feel like, and he has kind of like a mouth on him. He just
does.
doesn't use it as often.
He does.
But there's like that difference of in mannerisms that I think some people are just like, oh, why does Dan Lanning act like that? Or why did he say this? Or why did he approach this question this way? And I kind of just chalk it up to age. Like I never think very much of it because I'm just like, that's just a difference in like the type of football
Yeah.
coach he is. And part of that is because he's a younger football coach. And I think that's pretty consistent with the younger football coaches we see
fair.
in college football.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That's a good point. So let's get to the fun questions. So
Okay.
besides your team, which obviously you're paying much attention to your team, who else
Yeah.
are you most interested to see what's going on this year, what they have, and what, whatever they have going on and why? Which team would you pick? Or you can pick
Yeah.
multiple teams if you want.
Okay. I was gonna say because there are like many
Yeah.
interesting teams. I think for me, the first one that comes to mind is Michigan, just because I think they like nailed it with their hiring of
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Whittingham. Now, I'm not saying I have these super high expectations of Michigan in his first year, but I do expect, like, as a non-fan, I expect some turnaround and obviously some improvement. And I think fans should be really optimistic and happy with the trajectory of their program, especially with a coach that kind of brings a sense of maturity and calm and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps an opportunity to keep them out of the news for negative, bad, not good things. And
Facts.
so I'm keeping my eye on them just because I'm really fascinated to see what he does there and kind of how he adjusts and kind of how he's able to turn that program around. I say that loosely because they're not very far removed from winning a national championship. But so it's not like they have a ton of work, but there's a lot of question marks
Right.
around.
Yeah.
I think in general, the and within the SEC, I don't think enough people are really talking about Oklahoma. Not that I have
Mm.
incredible high hopes for Oklahoma because I don't pay attention enough to them to
Yeah.
really know, but I think there are still some weapons there that are worth paying attention to
Mm-hmm.
and at least being talked about in the same conversations. I mean, we spent a great amount of time talking about LSU, right? Just with Lane Kiffin alone. And I imagine a lot of people are paying attention to that team this year, that Oklahoma's kind of like gone under the radar. And I'm really
Right.
interested to see what they do. And I think
Yeah.
I speak for a lot of college football fans when I say Texas Tech. I think people are just naturally going to be tuning in, if, for the very least, to like hate watch, because I think I can't remember, that was like, to bring together that many college football fans and like unity over like agreeing over the same thing was actually pretty impressive. I tip my hat to Texas Tech because I really didn't think college football fans could be brought together like that. So I think just naturally it's like, okay, what are they going to look like? I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't really have a team in this fight. I don't really, know much about the conference maybe, but I think that will draw some eyes as well.
For sure. It's funny. I was like, Coach Sark's greatest accomplishment might be making everybody realize that Texas Tech actually does have an easy road.
Right. Right.
Like nobody
Yeah.
likes Coach Sark, but when you make a good point, we're with you. So it's
Right.
like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh gosh, Texas Tech to be able to play that Big 12 schedule and just what a life. What a
What a
life they are
life.
living.
Literally, what a life.
So I
Yes.
don't even know if they have any nationally televised games.
I don't know either, but it's
Yeah.
it's just it's so funny like how much we've talked about Texas Tech in the last couple of years because of the amount of money they've spent, but now
Right.
because of this entire thing. And it's just like, God, I've never thought about Texas Tech this much ever. And I'm still not even thinking about them that much, but like this just seems like we're all like thinking and
Yeah.
talking about them a lot more than I ever would have given them credit for.
Yeah,
So
you're just interested. Like, what is this going to be?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
And they better not lose a single game because all of us are going to be looking at them
Oh, it'd be
like,
insufferable.
are you kidding me?
Minimal.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So every team has like one thing standing in the way that you're kind of thinking in the back of your mind, like, if I could just steal this player, if I could just take him, plop him on my team, we would be so much better. Or I wouldn't have to worry about that position. Do you have a player in college football where you're looking at them and you're like, man, if he could play for Oregon, I would just love that. And I would never worry about this group.
Honestly, I'd probably go the OT route. And I'm thinking about probably Jordan Seaton at LSU.
Yeah.
That was like the first player that comes to mind. Originally, I was thinking more. I had a variety of different positions, but I would say if that could hone in, and if we had like a really elite dominant player, I would
Yeah.
feel even better about this team.
Yeah. Okay. But I anybody that talks about their O line just, has a special place in my heart because some people are like, I want a receiver. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like if that's what you
Right.
want.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong. Like some teams can say like our offensive line is fine. Give me a receiver. But a lot of teams are like, my offensive line is bad and I want a corner. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Okay. You
Yeah.
have fun with that. He'll be
Right.
strong, I guess. I don't know. But
Exactly.
okay. Yeah. Great. Good for you. So, what 3 words do you hope define the season? Not using champions or winning or things like that. What 3 words, or if
Ooh.
you have a 3 short sentence or something, people get creative with this one. What would you hope defines the season?
Okay, I'm not going to go the sentence route, but the first word that comes to mind is dominance. Like, I want
Okay.
them to be dominant in every game they play
Okay.
and like win. That's like, that's common
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I would say resilience. I've never
Good one.
necessarily viewed them as a team that lacks resilience, but
Okay.
that can never hurt, especially the longer stretch of college football and when you
Mm-hmm.
get to the postseason. And then I don't know, can I say like development? Because we have so many returning players. I'm
Yep.
expecting that development to obviously take a jump and something that
Mm-hmm.
really is like a driving force of the success of this team.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about when you were talking? I was like, if this is like the day before the national championship game or the day before the semifinal games, and you know how they do the thing where they like talk about the team, like, where does this team shine? Like those, I
Yeah.
could just see those words being like, well, they've been resilient this year and
Right.
they, whatever,
Yes.
whatever. So that's kind of like, as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, all of those things. It's so interesting how many people that watch college football that say development watch development, want development, as opposed to those people who don't feel like who just feel like it should just happen. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know how many people realize the process it takes to be good at
Right.
anything.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
like now it's football,
There's a process.
you know?
Yeah.
Yes, now it's like practice, film, all the things. And so I appreciate you honing in on that because a lot of people don't. That was
Yeah.
my battle cry with Arch Manning last year. It was like, guys, he has to have time to play the game. Like, what are we doing? But everyone's like, no, he
Right.
should be good right now. I'm like, all right, like no one ever is that good immediately,
And I
but
thought that was
okay.
a really interesting talking point last year with Arch Manning because there was really high expectations
Mhm.
before the season. And
Right.
even the season that they had last
Yeah.
year, I thought was pretty appropriate given the age of Arch Manning. And so now I imagine like that's probably a question mark going into Texas's season, right? Is like how much has Arch developed and what is that
Mhm.
offense going to look like?
Yeah, and I worry about it all the time.
I
Everyone's
mean,
yeah, everyone's like, "You have an offensive coach," and I'm like, "And that's why I'm worried about it." Like, I
right.
mean, I should that if that's your thing, right? Like, do
Right.
it. I mean, let's
Yes.
go make it amazing. So,
That's like where
that's
there's pressure and that's where it can be bad, right? Because if that's your thing, if offense is your thing, your offense is struggling, like fans aren't
what are we
going to take
doing?
that well.
Right?
Like,
Like, what
yeah,
are we
fans
doing?
aren't going to like
Yeah.
that's not going to go over well. So if they understand like the notions of development and like that time needed, then it's a little bit different. But
Yeah.
college football fans like to jump to assumptions. So
All the time. Yeah, and then there's also and I'm sure you'll understand this, there's the thing in college in football, just in general,
yeah,
that if your coach schemes something and everything is wide open and the guy drops the ball, that's actually not the coach's fault.
right.
Although we like
Yeah.
we're like we think, the coach should go out there and like block, pass, and do all the it's like
Yeah.
it's wide open. I mean, the whole field was open. He dropped it. And so
Yeah.
I get that. That's not Coach Sark's fault, but and we did have issues last year with that. So that's why sometimes it's like some people you just can't have conversations because you're like, yeah, they lost. And you're like, but did you watch it? I mean, if
Right.
you watched it and we can talk about the game, but let's not talk about the loss. Let's talk about the game and what
Yeah.
happened in the game. So,
Totally.
anyways,
Yeah.
I can go off on that tangent for hours, but anyway, so I'll just leave that where it's at. So, my last real question is when you look at the schedule, is there anybody that you're thinking, okay, if we happen to lose a game or two or whatever, it just can't be this game. It can't be this team because that would just derail everything. I feel like there's always games where if you lose to certain teams, it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to lose to them, but like, all right, whatever. But who on the schedule are you looking at this year where you're like, no, not them?
I think every year my answer will be Washington
Yeah.
because as a rival, that's just a game you can't lose. And it's just like so we go to Columbus this year against Ohio State. Obviously, that's like a game that people have circled. Obviously, it's a game I really want to win. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily going to derail Oregon's season if they have a season I'm expecting them
True.
to if they lose in Columbus to Ohio State. Unless Ohio State totally lets me down this year and it's not good. It's trash.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting that either. So, but with Washington, it's like when you lose to a rival, that just is like kind of like a morale hit. Like that, it can derail a season, like emotionally and mentally for fans. I imagine for a program itself. So like in Dan Lanning's first year, he lost to Oregon State and he lost to Washington. And so having those two rival losses, like that was not a fun time. Granted, it was his first year. So I think some fans were able to be like, okay, year one, he's a first-time head coach. He's really young. Hopefully we never do this again. And we obviously struggled with Washington 2023, and then they went to the national championship. But it's just like it's not super healthy for a program that's expected to play at such a high level if they lose to their rival, especially when their rival is not like at a same high level. Exactly. And so it's just like, it's kind of damaging to the overall culture, I would say, in a way. And I can see how that would derail a season.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Is there anything that you're like, Washington? No, forget them. Okay. We're better than them. We recruit better than them. Like unacceptable.
Yeah, exactly. It's unacceptable to yeah, absolutely.
I got you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or that you wanted to mention that maybe we didn't talk about, or just something that's top of mind that maybe you're thinking about before the season starts?
Nothing in particular. I mean, I guess like while I'm here, I think it's a bad idea to expand to a 24 team playoff. So, I mean, I know I've said that in quite a few spaces, but I definitely don't think that's the way to go. And I really hope that's not the way it's going, because
I agree.
That just would not be good. I do not see the point. We do not need to make this March Madness.
No. And I say all the time, I don't even think there's 24 good college football teams, respectfully.
Right. And this came up recently, and it's a good point with somebody where, like, if your team is consistently making the playoffs or consistently playing at a high level where their likelihood of making the playoffs is generally pretty high every season, of course, we don't want the 24 team playoff because we're looking at more games, the risk of injuries, just prolonging something that we otherwise can cut short, because we kind of get a good idea of who the top teams are by the end of the season. Why are we going to throw more into the mix? I know it's for money. I just think it's stupid. Please don't do it.
Yeah, me too. And so I've pitched like a playoff game, like a playoff play-in game. So I think we should do 16. I think we should have 14. And then I think you make teams play in to get to 16. And that eliminates kind of the, if there's some teams on the bubble, they either get in or they get out, but they have an opportunity, and it's still just 16. It caps it. And we don't ruin the regular season, because 16 teams is still like a good number. But do you have a number that you would like them to go to, as opposed to 24 is too much?
24 is too much. Honestly, I probably would have been fine with 8. So the fact that we're fine that we're where we are at, like, it's fine. I just also think the jump from 12 to 24 is like too big. So like with you, like maybe we just like add a few more, but like let's not jump straight to 24. The play-in idea is actually a good idea, because that seems like a manageable way to handle it. But immediately having a 24 team playoff where we're just getting these games where we likely know the outcome before the game is even played seems ridiculous. So like at that point in the season, we know people's strengths, weaknesses. Obviously things happen, things change, things get funky in college football, but is it worth the injury risk? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah. And my pushback is always too, so when does the season end? In March? Like how long, like, if we have 24 teams, how do you do that? Like, I don't know.
What are we doing? Like, it seems like it's going to be really long. And I'll say, like, this is where it's toxic. Like, I'm complaining about it being really long, but I will be watching every single game. So I'm the problem.
Every single game. Yeah. No.
I'm literally like what they want. Like, I'm still giving you my view, but
100%
ridiculous.
And I will give you my view kicking and screaming, and I will not apologize.
Exactly. But that's it. Please don't do it. Awesome. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I agree with you. I don't want 24 teams, but thank you for chatting with me about Oregon. And just thank you for just being an all around amazing human. There's just not good humans walking around, unfortunately. Sometimes you collaborate with people and you're like, that was cool. I never need to do that again. So thank you for not being that type of person. I really appreciate that. Of course. And then I will put all of your information in the description so everybody can find you. And then I'll end on you. Whatever you want to say, however you want to take us out, we'll end that way.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your kind words. It is always a joy and so much fun to be able to talk with you. I will take any opportunity to do so. And I just am going to say happy almost college football season because we're almost there.
We're all, oh my God, we're almost there.
We are.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.